This is BBC Newsline in Northern Ireland. Hello, I'm Declan Harvey. The top stories. How religious education is taught here is unlawful, says the Supreme Court. The problem is an overemphasis on Christianity and how non-believers can feel stigmatised.
What has to happen is it has to be a new curriculum written. Currently the curriculum is written by the 4 largest denominational churches, and so that has to come away.
Northern Ireland has changed a lot since the last core curriculum was put together. I think it is certainly a time for a revision of what we teach and how we teach.
A GP says women here are facing traumatic waits for breast cancer services and are receiving a substandard service.
Every week delay potentially is meaning that a cancer that could be treatable is no longer or is much harder to treat.
Nearly 200 paramilitary murals and memorials are on land owned by the housing executive. In a move described as the first of its kind, Queen's University is to take part in a new cross-border collaboration with a college in Dundalk.
In sport, the group phase is over and the qualifying path to the World Cup finals is starting to clear ahead of tomorrow's playoff draw. We will look at the permutations.
And the cold continues with a risk of snow showers and icy conditions overnight. I'll have the full forecast shortly.
It's Wednesday, the 19th of November. Welcome. It's been called a bombshell for our school system, with implications for daily life in classrooms across Northern Ireland. The UK's highest court has ruled the way religious education is currently taught here is unlawful. It can too often amount, in the unanimous view of 5 Supreme Court judges, to the indoctrination of younger people in favour of Christianity. The case was brought by an unnamed father and daughter. What's clear is that there will now have to be changes. It's less clear this evening what those changes will be. Our education correspondent Robbie Meredith starts us off tonight.
In dry legal language, a ruling from the UK's highest court that could create a revolution in our schools.
JR 87's and G's appeal is allowed, and the department's cross appeal is dismissed.
JR87 and G are the identities given in court to a daughter and father from a non-religious family here. When the child began repeating prayers at home that she'd been learning in her primary school, the family legally challenged the Bible-based education she'd been receiving.
Today the Supreme Court found in the family's favour, ruling the Christian religious education taught in schools in Northern Ireland is unlawful. Their judgment said it wasn't taught in an objective, critical and pluralistic manner, and that could amount to indoctrination. Those who represent the main churches in education admit that what's taught in RE and said in school assemblies will change as a result.
I'm quite open to seeing where this goes, but I think I wouldn't want it to be seen as some sort of a statement that religion should be banned from schools. I think the religious perspective is being rediscovered by many of our young people.
We now know that changes will have to be made to how RE is taught in schools, and in some cases how collective worship assemblies are done in schools as well. But we're not very clear on the guidance going forward for schools, and they will be looking for clear guidance.
The ruling won't mean the end of RE in schools or no more hymns or prayers in school assemblies. But children are likely to be taught about a range of religions and beliefs in RE, not just Christianity, and schools will have to think about inviting a wider range of speakers to assemblies.
Well, what has to happen is it has to be a new curriculum written. Currently the curriculum is written by the 4 largest denominational churches, and so that has to come away, and it has to be written by education professionals that includes humanist content.
Schools will still have many questions about what this judgment means for what they do. The solicitor who represented the family at the heart of the case says the Department of Education now have to give clear guidance.
As we know, with any court finding, especially a court finding from the Supreme Court in London, it should be actioned and it should be noted, and a response factored in by the relevant department as a matter of utmost urgency.
The Department of Education, for their part, say they'll carefully consider the judgment and its implications and will provide advice to schools in the near future. Robbie Meredith, BBC Newsline.
Well, just before we came on air, I spoke to Owen Tennyson of Alliance, who's welcomed the court ruling, and also the TUV's Timothy Gaston, who very much hasn't.
Well, I'm certainly disappointed by today's ruling. I think it's a gross insult to thousands of teachers that have taught RE in our schools. It's very, very important that we protect the Christian ethos that exists in many of our schools right across Northern Ireland. And my eyes now are looking to the Education Minister to give us clarity and also to step in and protect those schools that have been teaching RE with a Christian faith and a Christian base. It's important that they are protected through this. But very, very disappointed with the ruling today from the Supreme Court.
Protected from what? What do you mean protected from it? Do you mean that they don't have to follow it?
No, it's very important that those schools that have a Christian ethos are allowed to continue to teach RE, that are allowed to continue to teach Christianity in schools, because I think that's a very, very fundamental and important point here in Northern Ireland. Where is my rights as a Christian? Where is my rights that when I send my kids to school that they will be taught RE from a Christian-based perspective? I want to protect my kids from the other worldviews, so I want to make sure, and I want the Education Minister to step in here to protect my rights in all of this.
Owen Tennyson.
Well, look, this is clearly a significant judgment, though I have to say not as sensational a judgment as I think Timothy has presented it.
Well, people call it a bombshell today.
We're very clear from reading the judgment that this is not about removing religious education from schools. It's not about banning things like hymns and prayers and nativity plays from being part of school life. That is clearly not what the consequences of this judgment is going to be. But what it will require is a review of the curriculum to ensure that the RE curriculum reflects the diversity that exists in our society, accommodates people and children of all faiths and none, and also will look at how that curriculum is being delivered. I'm someone who recognises the importance of religion to many people in our society. I believe in freedom to and freedom from religion, and I also respect the role that churches have played over many decades in education and in other parts of our society. And I think it's significant that the body representing the main Protestant churches in matters of education have given a broad welcome to this judgment. We've heard an openness from Bishop McKeown, because I think if people actually approach this from a position of good faith, if people are willing to accommodate difference, then there is an opportunity to reimagine and modernise what religious education means in our education system in a way that respects and protects the rights of everyone, those who are religious and those who aren't.
You seem a little surer on what the implications of this might be than a lot of commentators today who say a lot of it has to be worked out. And when it comes to the extent of the impact of this ruling, I mean, what does it mean for Catholic schools, for example? Should they still exist?
Well, the judgment, I believe, is relatively clear when it deals with issues of the religious education curriculum. It's not dealing with issues, for example, of wider ethos in a school. But I also acknowledge, to be clear, that there will be schools, parents, pupils out there who will feel uncertain as a result of this decision today. So where I do agree is that there is a need now for the Education Minister to provide some clarity and guidance to those schools. I mean, let's not forget that RE is the only part of our curriculum which isn't subject to inspection. I think irrespective of your perspective in this judgment, there's an acknowledgement that that needs to be reviewed and that needs to change. So there is an opportunity here, if we work together in a spirit of collaboration and respect for difference and diversity in our community, I think we can get to a point where our education system reflects all of our young people and supports them to thrive and to learn, which ought to be our priority.
Timothy Gaston, do you accept that this part of the education system has gone unchecked?
I certainly believe that the education system, the control sector, as I said earlier, was born out of the 1920s. It came from Protestant churches. That needs to be respected. The ethos that we have run through many of our schools needs to be protected. My rights as a Christian parent needs to be protected. That when I send my children to a school, that they are being protected from the worldviews that exist out there.
What you're talking about protecting, though, is a Christian dominance. And it's a dominance, that very dominance, that is being challenged by this court ruling today.
I still believe that Northern Ireland is a Christian country. The amount of people that have reached out to me today tells me a different story, that there is a lot of people up in arms, there's a lot of people concerned.
You know there's a lot of people who aren't Christian.
This is not reflective on the vast majority of people in Northern Ireland. This is a very topical issue, this is a very big issue, and this is something that is concerning a lot of parents.
What's your... Owen, sorry.
Our schools aren't there to serve just the vast majority of people in our society. Our schools are there to serve everyone in our community.
Well, we're grateful to Owen Tennyson and Timothy Gaston who joined me just before we came on air. You can find out more on this story right now on our website. It includes lots of questions and as many answers as we can bring you about what this could mean going forward for our schools. There's the address. You will, of course, also find it on the BBC News app. Next this evening, women here are facing traumatic waits for breast cancer services. That is the view of a GP in County Antrim who's concerned after 3 of her patients received a late cancer diagnosis. She says when compared to elsewhere in the UK, women here are receiving a substandard service. The Health Minister says the new regional service is improving things. Here's our health correspondent, Mary-Louise Conley.
This GP is the first point of contact for many women who are concerned they've breast cancer. Over 5 months, the surgery in White Abbey red flagged 32 women. 3 received a late cancer diagnosis. 9 others are still waiting to be seen by a consultant. None met the 2-week target. In fact, most waited more than 8 weeks.
We know that the longer delay leads to later staging and poorer outcomes. Every week delay potentially is meaning that a cancer that could be treatable is no longer or is much harder to treat. Not only that, the psychological impact for these women is huge. Imagine waiting up to 10 weeks not knowing if you're going to be given a cancer diagnosis.
In May, a new regional breast cancer service was set up to ensure women, no matter what their address, have equitable access. But for many, it's not working. One of those 3 women told me that after she was advised of a potential 10-week wait to be seen, she felt hopeless and panicked. She said she checked for cancellations within the system, including in England, almost daily. Eventually, she paid for a private diagnosis where she learned she had stage 2 breast cancer. After a cancer diagnosis, patients should start treatment within 62 days. But the figure for Northern Ireland meeting that target is stark. While there's no comparable data for Wales, in Scotland, almost 70% of patients begin treatment within 62 days. In England, it's around 62%, but here it's just 33%.
This is really shocking, and particularly cancers like lung cancer, gynecological cancer, blood cancers that can be quite aggressive. We're really concerned that those patients aren't being treated in a timely way.
A woman from a different health trust blames her delayed diagnosis on what she describes as too much faffing and miscommunication between hospitals. 10 weeks after her GP appointment in June, she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It took a further 8 weeks for treatment to start in October. She's now facing a terminal diagnosis, and she says her entire experience has been horrific. Yesterday, Mike Nesbitt said it is all about the budget, a sum agreed by the executive. He also said investment is starting to make a difference, but more time's required.
So we've gone quite rapidly from 10 weeks to 7 weeks, 2 days, as long as we continue that journey.
But those wearing a different hat say some don't have the luxury of time.
Whether it's lack of appointments, I don't know, but it's...
Well, is that regional service working?
No. It was never this bad before, so it's clearly not working now.
And Mary-Louise is with me now. Can we talk more generally about waiting times? Because this story obviously fits into the bigger picture. And it's emerged that funding that was specifically set aside to tackle hospital waiting lists has now been spent on something else.
That's right. Think back to May this year when Mike Nesbitt announced what was described as a cocktail of packages to tackle hospital waiting lists, totalling £215 million. And that money was broken down into 3 different pots. 85 million for red flag and urgent referrals, 80 million to expand services, and then another 50 million of new money to tackle hospital waiting lists. But last night, the Minister confirmed in an answer to the DUP's Diane Dodds that more than £70 million from that middle pot of money set aside to improve hospital services will now be diverted to address the department's £600 million deficit. Now, the Minister said that that May package had always come with the caveat of up to £215 million. It's always about the money, Declan. And remember, Mike Nesbitt, with the approval of the executive, has already ate into next year's budget by £100 million to ensure pay parity for health workers. Good news, of course, for them, but others might argue not so good economics for the executive.
Marlouise, thank you very much. You'll continue to follow it, I'm sure, for us. Marlouise Connolly there. OK, it is just after 7:15. This is BBC Newsline. Thanks for joining us. Still to come on the programme, why one of Northern Ireland's top footballers is taking time away from the game. Next, across Northern Ireland, there are nearly 200 paramilitary murals and memorials like these on housing executive land. They are unauthorised, and the amount of them has been revealed in records obtained by BBC Newsline. There are calls for Stormont to consider an audit of these memorials and, in particular, remove any with paramilitary images. Our political reporter, Brendan Hughes, has the story.
Prepared for peace, ready for war, but perhaps not a storm. Strong winds toppled this UVF mural in Belfast last year. Since then, it's been rebuilt, all on public land, without permission.
The council says it didn't approve this work, but there are no plans to remove it, adding that staff safety is a priority.
And memorials too can be just as thorny. This one of IRA hunger striker Bobby Sands was praised by the First Minister, but it was put up without planning permission. Belfast City Council is still investigating. Across Northern Ireland, 410 murals and memorials are located on housing executive land and property, including 177 related to paramilitaries. That's an issue prompting debate at Stormont.
I have farmers who cannot get a farmhouse passed, a hen house passed in their farm, and who don't build it until they get planning permission. And yet we have people who build memorials to terrorists.
We should not advocate to remove existing places which provide a sense of acknowledgement or which provide peaceful closure for communities here.
The process sometimes is as important as the actual finished project.
This artist has for years helped communities replace contentious displays.
You just can't go in and go, actually, I know best, because you don't. You don't know how those people feel about it, how they want to change, how they want to be perceived, etc. So it's building that relationship.
The housing executive says its re-imaging work relies on community support, but those working in communities say the issue is complicated.
The people that are commemorated on the murals are from the area. Do you know what I mean? They could even be relatives, friends of the person who passed away. So they're happy for it to be there.
I have to look at cenotaphs. I have to look at all of them, and that's legitimate. That's seen as being legitimate memorials, not in my community.
Some want more cunning from ministers.
They're presently working on a new good relations document, and I would like at least a set of principles that they could ask people to abide to over murals and memorials.
They say creativity takes courage, so when it comes to disputes over murals and memorials, the writing's not yet on the wall. Brendan Hughes, BBC Newsline, Belfast.
Now, soon, students studying at Dundalk Institute of Technology will graduate with qualifications from Queen's University. It's a new cross-border collaboration, the first of its kind. Our Dublin correspondent, Gabia Gatavasqueta, reports.
High rents and long commutes. Those are just some of the challenges faced by students while at college. But the Irish government now hopes to make the lives of border students a bit easier.
Everybody attending Dundalk get a university degree awarded through Queen's. They all have access to the Queen's research, training facilities, and it boosts, I suppose, there will be investment in Dundalk as part of this as well in terms of research capacity. They're already a fine college, but now there will be a fine university.
The Irish government says this is the first step in creating an all-island university.
There's a really good mood among the students this morning. Students have been looking for university status for DKIT for quite some time now. It opens up so many pathways for students, with the university status, especially international students.
And we welcome all cross-border initiatives. Again, it's opening up more opportunities, more funding from the EU or the UK. This is opening up so much more opportunities for the students of Ireland.
This may even see college becoming more affordable.
It is quite expensive to travel, to move and to get rent. It makes Queen's University so much more accessible.
The cost of courses being charged at either institution will not change. If this initiative goes well, other colleges on either side of the border may see something similar rolled out. The name Dundalk IT may now be changed to reflect its new university college status. The Irish government is hoping to give effect to the partnership between the two institutions before the next academic year. Gabia Katavitskite, BBC Newsline, Dublin.
Well, after last night's drama in the final group games, the path to the World Cup is this evening a bit clearer. Nicola McCarthy is here with the sport. This is starting to shake down into some kind of picture, isn't it?
It is indeed, Declan. High drama last night, as you say, but things now a little bit clearer the way forward as we know it. The draw now will take place tomorrow in Switzerland after last night's results. Northern Ireland could face Italy, Turkey, Denmark or Ukraine in a playoff semi-final, while the Republic, they will take on one of Poland, Wales, the Czech Republic or Slovakia. The winners of those ties then go on to play a playoff final to clinch a spot at the World Cup finals. Thomas Keane has more.
I can't even explain it now, but to be able to know what's on the other end of it just is a little more.
Hamir Hallgrimsson's side will also be on their travels for that round of fixtures. A Republic of Ireland against Northern Ireland playoff final is still a possibility, with the huge prize of a World Cup spot up for grabs. Thomas Keane, BBC Newsline.
Staying with football, and Simone Magill, the Northern Ireland women's captain, recently announced that she will be taking some time away from the game, and that's because she is pregnant and expecting her first child in May. She does plan to return to competitive football at club and international level in the future, and in an exclusive interview with our reporter Andy Gray, she says she feels the timing is right.
After the Euros, when I got the ACL injury, I think that's when I realised the most that there was more to life for me and for everyone really than just football. And I think for me that was when I realised that, you know, I do want to put myself first. I've put football first my whole entire life and my career. But yeah, I think it's important to recognise that, you know, beyond football there is so much more to me than just being Simone Magill the footballer, and that's very much the message that I do want to get across.
Mason, Magill, levels it up, Simone Magill.
At the end of last season, I was really satisfied with everything that I had done, and I was just ready. And like these things, we can plan only so much. And I said, like, I was happy enough for us to start trying. And yeah, here we are. So it's just really exciting, something really different for me this year, but one that I'm really looking forward to.
I know you're only 31, but you've been in the game since you were 15, 16, and I'm sure you've seen other players go off maybe to go on this sort of similar journey. How much has the support level sort of changed from maybe back in the day when other people were doing this compared to what you're going through now?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's something that we're seeing a lot more people do now in the game. You know, I'm not the first, and I definitely won't be the last person to go and do this. And I've taken inspiration from many other females in the past who have gone on and done this and come back and better than ever in some ways. You know, I look at Sarah McFadden at Northern Ireland, who's a shining example of that for me. So hopefully, you know, I can maybe go and inspire a generation in a new way than I've maybe done in the past as well by going on this journey.
Magill, is she the match winner? It looks like it.
Just finally, this is a big question. You're Northern Ireland's captain. Your husband Mark's from England. When baby Magill is born, where's your allegiance going to be?
That's no question. I've already laid the ground firm with that one, that it'll always be Northern Ireland.
Never in doubt. Huge congratulations to Simone and Mark. Now finally in cricket, and on day one of the second test, Bangladesh won the toss and opted to bat first against Ireland. The home side were 292 for 4 at the close, and that is the sport this evening. Declan.
Thank you very much. Winter begins in November according to the Celtic calendar. It begins in December according to the meteorological calendar, whichever one you're convinced by. We saw the first snow of this time of year today. Higher ground bar, but I think it's going to be a really nippy night ahead, isn't it?
Yeah, and there could be some low-level areas seeing a dusting of snow as well. Already temperatures are hovering just above freezing out there this evening, so if you're heading out and about any time soon, wrap up warm. We also have another weather warning in force for snow showers and icy patches right through until noon tomorrow. Most of the snow over the hills in the mountains, but some low-level areas could see a dusting of snow as well. Icy patches too as temperatures fall tonight. Several degrees below freezing in some spots. Frost as well, and those snow showers continuing to come in on a northerly wind. So the likes of the Glen Shane Pass, the Coleraine Mountain Road, for example, tomorrow morning could be a touch treacherous, so something to bear in mind. Otherwise, still a few wintry showers tomorrow morning, but they will begin to thin out through the day, and mainly dry conditions then begin to settle in for most of us. Lots of sunshine as well, but still feeling quite nippy. We're looking at temperatures of 5 or maybe 6 degrees. Around the coast, though, with that onshore breeze coming in from the north, it's going to feel a little bit cooler. Then after nightfall tomorrow, you can see quite quickly frost returns on the map. So tomorrow night, another chilly night, even colder than tonight with the clear skies. Chance of a few icy patches as well, but certainly a widespread frost the story. Temperatures several degrees below freezing in some cases, so it's really going to be cold to start the day on Friday. For Friday itself, a bit of a change then begins to take place. A dry start, some early sun, the cloud creeps in from the west, and eventually we're going to have rain by the end of the day. And that's a weather front. Behind that weather front, slightly milder airs heading our way. So a frosty start for some on Friday, that burns away quite quickly. Largely dry, cloudy, and then here's that rain that's going to come in by the end of the day. So behind that, we're going to see the slightly warmer air moving in. So over the weekend, temperatures creeping up a few degrees, both by day and by night, closer to average for the time of year, in and around 8 to 9 degrees. But over the weekend, it will remain at times unsettled with some spots of rain and maybe some heavy thundery showers as well.
OK, Barra, thank you. Stay warm tonight. Look out for each other. Of course, the latest episode of the State of Us podcast is available now wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll update you back here on BBC One tonight at 10:35. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.